The sugar high lie. Let's get right into it. Number 10. The sugar high lie. Every parent thinks giving their kid sugar turns them into a tiny tornado. But that idea is totally wrong. Scientists actually tested it. They gave some kids real sugar, others fake sugar, and no one, not the kids, not the parents, knew who got what. And the result? Nothing. Zero difference. The sugar kids weren't any more hyper than the others. But here's the twist: when parents thought their kid had sugar, they suddenly started seeing hyperactivity everywhere. They watched their kid like a hawk, waiting for signs of chaos. Kid jumps once? Must be the sugar. Kid laughs loud? Sugar rush. This all started back in the 1970s when a doctor blamed food additives for making kids hyper. Parents grabbed onto that theory fast. But a kid going wild at a birthday party? It's probably just the party. The fun, the games, the excitement, maybe even a missed nap. That cake? Even if it was sugar-free, they'd still be bouncing off the walls. Your brain isn't slacking off. Number 9. Your brain isn't slacking off. You've probably heard the popular myth that we only use 10% of our brains. That's about as true as saying whales only use 10% of the ocean. It's nonsense. The myth is so widespread, it's even inspired Hollywood movies where a character takes a magic pill and suddenly masters quantum physics while breakdancing. But here's the real deal. Your brain is firing on all cylinders, all the time. With special brain scanners, scientists can actually see it lighting up constantly even when you're fast asleep. It's controlling your breathing, regulating your heartbeat, and yes, even bringing back that cringe-worthy moment from 3rd grade. This little powerhouse makes up only 2% of your body weight, yet it guzzles 20% of your body's energy. It's like having a tiny space heater that never turns off. If 90% of your brain really sat around doing nothing, evolution would have scrapped it long ago. Nature doesn't keep freeloaders. And here's more proof. Damage even the smallest area of the brain, and major issues can follow. Every part of your brain matters. The whole 10% myth likely started with a Harvard researcher in the 1800s who said most people weren't living up to their potential. Someone twisted that into, we only use 10% of our brain, and just like that, a Hollywood-friendly myth was born. Number 8. Pennies from heaven. Pennies from heaven won't kill you. Number 8. Pennies from heaven won't kill you. You've probably heard the classic myth: if someone drops a penny from the top of the Empire State Building, it could go straight through your skull. Sounds dramatic, but it's totally false. Here's what really happens. When you drop a penny from high up, gravity pulls it down fast at first, but then air resistance steps in. Air might seem invisible, but it's full of molecules that push back against anything moving too fast. The penny hits those molecules and starts flipping and tumbling. After falling just around 50 feet, the penny reaches its terminal velocity, the fastest speed it can fall, which is only about 25 miles per hour. That's slower than a casual biker. So, if a penny hits you at that speed, it might sting a bit, but it's more like someone flicking you on the head, annoying, not deadly. Now, if you dropped that same penny in a vacuum like outer space where there's no air to slow it down, it could blast past 200 miles per hour. But here on Earth, you're actually at more risk from a falling ballpoint pen. Pens are sleek and aerodynamic, so they cut through the air like little arrows. Those could hurt. But the penny? It's harmless change. Number 7. Lightning's repeat offender status. Number 7. Lightning's repeat offender status. You've probably heard the phrase, lightning never strikes the same place twice. Yeah, that's completely false. The Empire State Building gets nailed by lightning about 25 times every year. It's basically a lightning magnet. And then there's Roy Sullivan, a park ranger who holds the wildest weather record ever. He was struck by lightning 7 different times and somehow survived them all. After the 4th strike, his coworkers started avoiding him whenever a storm rolled in. Can't really blame them. Lightning loves tall objects, and it's not shy about hitting them again and again. If you're the tallest thing around like a lone tree in an open field, guess what? You're a bullseye. And here's the kicker. Lightning doesn't even need storm clouds overhead. Sometimes, it strikes miles away from the storm. These are called bolts from the blue, because they come out of nowhere even when the sky looks totally clear. So next time the weather seems fine, maybe don't let your guard down just yet. Number 6. Vikings. Vikings left their horns at home. Number 6. Vikings left their horns at home. Despite what cartoons, costumes, and movies might show, Vikings never wore horned helmets into battle. That whole idea? Total fiction dreamed up by opera costume designers in the 1800s. They wanted something dramatic for the stage, saw some ancient helmets with horns, and thought, yeah, that looks fierce. But in reality, going into battle with two giant handles on your head is a terrible idea. Horns could get snagged on branches, or worse, give your enemy the perfect grip to yank you down. Not exactly a warrior's dream. Actual Viking helmets found by archaeologists are simple and functional, usually just rounded iron caps, sometimes with a nose guard. No horns. Now, it's true that some horned helmets were found in Denmark, but those date back over 3,000 years before the Vikings. And they weren't used for war, they were ceremonial, more like a crown than armor. Most likely, those 1800s costume designers saw those ancient ceremonial helmets and thought, perfect, let's stick those on the Vikings. And just like that, one of history's biggest fashion myths was born. Number 5, your razor isn't making you hairier. Number 5, your razor isn't making you hairier. You've probably heard the classic myth, shaving makes hair grow back thicker and darker. Nope, total nonsense. When you shave, you're not changing your hair, you're just giving it a flat top haircut. Picture slicing a tree straight across with a chainsaw. That stump feels rougher than a smooth, tapered branch. Same deal with your hair. After shaving, the regrowth feels thicker because each strand now has a blunt edge, not because it is thicker. Scientists have been studying this for decades, and they've found zero evidence that shaving affects how your hair grows. Your hair's thickness, color, and speed of growth, all determined by your genes. That razor isn't rewriting your DNA. If shaving really made hair grow and thicker, balding guys would be shaving their heads non-stop. We'd have cured baldness with nothing but a razor and some foam. But spoiler alert, Jeff Bezos is still bald and he could afford a razor made of gold. The myth sticks around because stubble feels different when it grows back, but it's the same old hair just with a blunt edge, not a magic upgrade. Swim whenever you want, mostly. Number 4, swim whenever you want. Remember when your mom told you to wait 30 minutes after eating before jumping in the pool? She probably warned you about getting cramps and drowning. Well, turns out, that's a total myth. This idea became so popular that even lifeguards used to make people sit out after lunch. But here's the truth. There's zero scientific evidence that eating before swimming is dangerous. Not a single confirmed case exists of someone drowning because they had a sandwich before diving in. The old theory said that after eating, your blood rushes to your stomach to help with digestion, leaving your limbs low on blood and vulnerable to cramps. Sounds scary, but it's just bad science. Your body's perfectly capable of multitasking, it can digest food and swim at the same time. Sure, if you just inhaled an entire Thanksgiving dinner, maybe take it easy. You might get a small cramp if you swim hard right after a big meal, kind of like going for a sprint right after eating. But it's not life-threatening. In fact, competitive swimmers often eat during long training sessions. The American Red Cross has even confirmed, this myth doesn't hold water. So go ahead, have that snack and swim on. Your head isn't a heat chimney. Number 3, your head isn't a heat chimney. Remember when your mom warned, put on a hat or you'll freeze to death? And maybe you've heard that we lose 50% of our body heat through our heads. That sounds dramatic and it's completely false. This myth started with an old Army survival manual that claimed 40 to 45% of body heat escapes through your head. But here's what they didn't mention in that test. People were dressed in full winter gear with only their heads exposed. So, of course, most heat escaped from their heads, it was the only skin showing. In reality, your head makes up about 10% of your total body surface area, which means it's only responsible for about 10% of your body heat loss, unless it's the only part not covered. Heat loss depends on how much skin is exposed, not on magical heat portals in your scalp. Now, your head can feel colder because it has lots of blood vessels close to the surface, but that's just sensation, not actual heat drain. And yes, this advice makes sense for babies and toddlers. Their heads are proportionally huge compared to their bodies, so they really do lose more heat up there. Goldfish memory. Number 2, goldfish memory. People love to say goldfish have a 3-second memory, but that's totally false. In reality, goldfish are surprisingly smart. Scientists have placed them in mazes, And not only did they figure out how to escape, they remembered the solution months later. These fish can even recognize human faces. Imagine being a goldfish swimming in your tank thinking, "Oh hey, it's Tani again, the guy who brings the food." And it doesn't end there. Goldfish can be trained to do tricks like swimming through hoops or even playing tiny games of soccer. Some goldfish have even learned to tell apart different types of music, all with a brain smaller than a pea. It's impressive stuff. Scientists believe that studying goldfish brains could actually help us unlock new insights into how human memory and learning work. So no, goldfish aren't forgetful, they're miniature memory champs. Gum doesn't stick around for years. Number 1, gum doesn't stick around for years. That old myth about swallowed gum sitting in your stomach for 7 years? Total lie. When you swallow gum, it moves through your digestive system just like any other food. The only difference? Your body can't fully digest it. Think of gum like corn, your body doesn't break it down, so it just passes through. Most swallowed gum is out of your system within a day or two. It doesn't stick to your insides, and your stomach is always moving, constantly pushing things along. Those horror stories about gum causing blockages? Only a problem if you're swallowing tons of gum all the time, which most people don't. Humans have been chewing weird stuff for ages. The ancient Greeks chewed tree resin. The Mayans chewed chicle. None of them ended up with 7 years of gum stuck inside them. So no, gum won't glue itself to your stomach, but it will stick to sidewalks for what feels like forever. That's all for today, more myth-busting coming soon, so don't forget to subscribe.